what's going on, everybody? This is John J Gaming on the mic here, and I'm coming at you with a brand new episode of the Big Earl Football Podcast number 2 here in season number 3, and it's our last podcast as well before we get into conference play here in season number 3. We got a good one in store for you here, man. We're going to take a look at a couple more recruit highlights that just came in from our scouting department, as well as take a look at some other recruiting updates. How is our recruiting ranking stand, in terms of how we compare to the rest of the country? Take a little look at what went wrong with the Indiana game, and then also as well take a look at this Capital Crusaders game as our home opener. So it's going to be a good one, so make sure you smash that like button for me, and also as well make sure you hit those comments up down below. I love interacting with all of you guys, of course. I do try to respond to everybody, so hit me up in those comments, man, if you're enjoying the content. But let's go ahead and start with some notable recruits in the high school film that we just received.
So one of the guys that I do wanted to go in and talk about that we are seriously looking at is Eric Jackson. He's a tight end located in San Diego, California. He's a 3-star prospect, and I really like what he brings to the table. First of all, he brings a really good frame, 6'6", 242 pounds, and he's also a receiving tight end. Now, that does mean that we do have to go ahead and work on his blocking a little bit, but he seems like such a prime red zone threat, really a better version than what Brandon Howell was when we brought him in last season. And just look at the toughness that this dude has. 2 tackles, sometimes breaking 3 tackles at a time, not to mention once again just having that frame where he can go up and look at this, 2 free guys in the vicinity, he can go up like a power forward and make that catch too. And then not to mention, he brings good athleticism as well for a tight end. But we also are looking at a guy like Andy Robertson, who's also a three-star guy. He's from Sulphur Springs, Texas as well, and he's a mammoth at the defensive line, man. We're talking about a guy that plays on that defensive line, is a run stopper, and is 6'7", but at the same time also has a motor to go ahead and get some tackles as well and get some sacks on the quarterback. And you can see right here another example of that. Doesn't even sack the quarterback this time around, but does force the quarterback to make a bad decision and make the pick.
So checking out some more updates on our recruiting board as well. Not only did we get Cedric Hill and Xavier Robertson to commit shortly after our game against Indiana, when we got through the bye week, we did also get Jason Howard and John Purd to sign with us as well. So that now means we have 3 guys in the trenches on either side of the football that is now committed to the squad. John Bird is a 3-star commit from Rialto, California. He's a 38th ranked tackle. Didn't live up to expectations, but he can get some playing time early, and so can Jason Howard, who's also a 3-star guy from Glendora, California, the 62nd ranked defensive tackle. As we go ahead now, take a look at the rest of the recruiting board, just to see if there's any other guys that are on the verge of signing. Brandon Morris is really close. We also have Andy Robinson, who we highlighted earlier. He's actually really close to signing with us as well. Oklahoma State doesn't seem like they're going to catch up anytime soon, so this guy should be an Earl and Quaker when it's all said and done. Dejuan Armstrong, we're actually in a battle with Mount St. Joseph right now for this kid. He's a 3-star guy from Sulphur Springs, Texas, and it looks like Mount St. Joseph is going after this guy actively as well, and we actually might have a tough time bringing this kid in, but this might be the only person on our recruiting board that we might not bring in. Everyone else I kind of feel pretty good about bringing in at the end of the day. And then finally, of course, Sean Cox. He was featured in a previous little recruiting update in the previous podcast, and now Sean Cox, he is very close to signing with the Earl and Quakers. 69 overall. He can step in and play for us right away if we need him to. Has 71 speed, all that good stuff. I would not be shocked if after the Capital game he does end up signing with us next week. So then also taking a look at our recruiting class going forward, we're actually off to a pretty good start, all things considered. Yes, we're 0-3, but we currently are listed with the 18th ranked recruiting class in the country. That's thanks to our 3 free stars and one 1-star guy that we do have. I'm sure it will end up falling a little bit as the season goes on, but I do really like the recruiting class that we are putting together. It's not a flashing recruiting class, to say the least. I would say this is not the best recruiting class that we're going to bring in. I think there was more impactful guys in our last recruiting class, but I like that there's quite a few guys that can step in and be good depth pieces for us going forward. And I'm looking around the recruiting rankings just to see who else is around, and it seems like we do have the best, actually we have the second best recruiting class. Manchester has a better recruiting class than us, but we have the second best recruiting class in the conference so far, and I feel really good about that going forward. As for how things have gone on the football field as of late, it's been a little disheartening to say the least. It's one thing that we're not getting blown out in non-conference play like we did last season, but this is a situation where I really do think that we would have gone 2-1. ULM, we had multiple opportunities to close it out and win this game, and I could say the same thing for Indiana as well. You know, we played really well. We outplayed the Hoosiers for 3 quarters, and then, you know, Indiana was able to respond, you know, in that 4th quarter with 15 unanswered points, and that was able to seal the deal for them. They win this game by only 4 points at the end of the day. You know, and take a look at the stats or else. We did a pretty good job passing the football. 16 for 26, 2 touchdowns, 275 yards total between our 2 quarterbacks. And then we also did a good job of running the ball. So the offense is really coming together. Defensive consistency might be a little bit of an issue. And I really do think about that fumble that we had in the first half. If we were able to settle up for a field goal, I really do think we will end up winning the game, because if you guys remember, we were set up for a spot where we were legitimately in field goal range, you know, to go ahead and win this game. But because we needed a touchdown, we had to throw towards the end zone for the last 2 plays of the game. And that's what ended up, you know, happening for us. Miami Uiagalelei, he's looking pretty good. And I think it's also because CJ Patton, you know, does sub in for him, so that Miami has easier reads to deal with. We give CJ Patton, to be honest, a little bit more harder reads to make over the course of the game. But I mean, I like how our offense is turning around. The big question for us at this point is, what can our defense do? We are now without our number 1 corner in, you know, Mario Henderson. So that's something that we're going to really have to go ahead and try to deal with going forward. He has some good kick returns, though. If I remember correctly, like, he had us in a spot to where, yeah, Mario Hernandez, he only had 1 kick return, but it was for 76 yards. It led to a touchdown. But yeah, that's how he ended up getting hurt. He sprained his knee as well, so you hate to see that. But you looking forward, though, we just have to go ahead and look forward. As we'll go ahead now, check out the conference standings for the MAC conference, you know, going into conference play. And we're actually the only team on our side of the division that has not won a non-conference game. Everyone else has done extremely well. 3-0. Hanover, they're 14th in the nation. Anderson is in the top 25. They're number 25 in the nation. Rose-Hulman and Franklin are also 2-1 as well. We should be 2-1 legitimately, but I mean, it just hasn't gone our way yet. As for the East side looks a little bit weaker. They still have 4 teams though that were, you know, had positive records in non-conference play, but Capital and Transylvania, you know, they haven't had the same luck that we had as well. They're also winless in conference play. Transylvania, I'm not surprised, but Capital, you know, they played some weaker teams. They were only close against Washington State, but then proceeded to get blown out by San Jose State and UMass, who I think that's taken over by, I'm trying to figure out who that's supposed to be, because it's a little bit weird. I'll remember who it is, but either way, they lost by 2 touchdowns. So yeah, that's who we got up against, and they have similar, I think they have weaker stats than Indiana, and I really think that, you know, we just get off to a better start like we did against Indiana, but then finish like we did against ULM from like the 4th quarter, we can actually go about winning games. You know, I'm really thinking, in my heart, we are a 2-1 squad. So now we'll go ahead now and take a look at the undefeated teams that still remain here around the nation, and there's 4 teams at the top that are still undefeated at this point. Tennessee, who is garnering the most first place votes, they have 41 of 61 first place votes, and they're sitting at 4-0. Same thing with Oklahoma and Florida State. They are also undefeated and are getting first place votes consideration. Ohio State, they're currently 3-0 as well going into this one. Haven't really worked too hard except the Wisconsin game. Wisconsin, they did end up, almost losing that one. So we'll see if Ohio State, can remain in the top 10 or not. Notre Dame, that's a team that we ended up facing. They are 4-1. They lost on the road against Florida State, but they only, lost by a touchdown. They went ahead. They played Clemson on the road and beat them handily. Same thing with North Carolina, and same thing with Virginia taking care of business. They still got a few top 25 matchups that they'll have to deal with. They still have to go on the road to play Michigan. They play Stanford, and then they go on the road to play against USC as well. So that'll be really interesting to see as well. And there are also there's some more undefeated teams that are in this top 25 as well. Texas allegedly is back. They're 4-0 in this thing, and they won a championship, I believe, not too long ago. Yeah, back in season 1, as that was their 6th national championship. They've been rocking and rolling so far, mostly with the defense. So the offense hasn't really been that impressive outside the Texas A&M game. Also, currently undefeated, Hanover. It's a team that I talked about that's within our conference. They're 3-0 so far. They smashed FCS East and then also did the same against Wisconsin and Cincinnati. They could be a dark horse to go to a BCS bowl game when it's all said and done, or at least I guess New Year's 6, I should say. Purdue is also undefeated. Georgia is undefeated as well. TCU is as well. As Michigan State, they're number 19 in the nation as well with an undefeated record as well. And Anderson also makes its first appearance in the top 25 this season. They're 3-0. They beat BYU on the road and then went about playing Arizona State and UAB at home and winning both games. They'll actually host Wittenberg from the opposite division. So we'll see how that turns out moving forward. Up next, we now go ahead and take a look at this Capital Crusaders roster that we're going to be going up against in our very first conference game. And, looking around, there isn't, anybody that's too threatening to say the least. They actually don't have a lot of guys in the 80s right now. I guess they're kind of in the same situation that we are, except we have a lot of young guys. They just don't have, a lot of talent on this roster compared to some of the other teams in the conference. Their best player, Daniel Brink, he's an 87 overall, but he's a kicker, so that'll be really interesting. They do have a backfield duo in Andrew Thomas and Jeff Catwin. Jeff Catwin, is considered a star player. He's the workhorse of the group. He's currently averaging 5 yards per carry and does have a touchdown on the ground, but then also has 2 touchdowns through the air as well, despite the fact that he only had 2 catches, of course. He's a senior redshirt. As for Andrew Thomas, he's also been getting some good amount of carries as well. 38 carries, 220 yards, and has 1 touchdown on the ground. He also has 3 receptions for 66 yards as well. He almost surpasses his mark from his junior campaign, where only caught 4 balls the entire season. And he doesn't have any drops yet, so you love to see that. A little bit improvement from Andrew Thompson, to say the least. At the quarterback position, they do have a senior redshirt, is Chris McCormick. He's 6'2", 213 pounds, and is from Lakewood, Ohio. He's a guy that likes to scramble, man, and he's, a little bit inconsistent when it comes to passing the football. Right now, he has 6 touchdowns for his 5 interceptions. He actually had 1 good passing year, so maybe we can finally get some interceptions because we've been in position to make plays, but we just haven't done that quite yet. But he is a little bit dangerous on the ground. He has 142 yards rushing and does have 1 rushing touchdown to this point. And he has about the same speed as Miami Uigallie, 91 agility, which is pretty elite, and has a decent arm, 81 throw power, 82 accuracy, and can break tackles pretty easily. But if we can keep Chris McCormick in the pocket and force him to make decisions, I think that'll be really successful for us, because considering he hasn't had a great job of not really making the best decisions sometimes. He has almost as many touchdowns as interceptions, with the exception of his junior year. At fullback, it seems like they have 2 walk-ons at the fullback position, so I imagine we won't really see them out on the field. At wide receiver, though, they do have 1 good wide receiver, Jameel Henderson. He's a possession guy from Auburn, Alabama. He's not very fast though, 79 speed, but does have very good catching, 91 catch, 90 spec catch, and also 83 catch in traffic. He's a guy that works on the craft, but he's not very athletic though, so I think we shouldn't have too much of a problem, you know, keeping up with him. And he's only 5'11", so, you know, I think our guys can come up and, you know, make some one-on-one catches as well if it does become a one-on-one situation. Behind him, there's a few other receivers that, you know, are alright. John Goff, Calvin Muhammad, and Justin Morris, but they're all barely over 75 overall. We played against better wide receiver rooms than Capital, and I think we can do a decent job of making sure that, you know, they don't get behind us on the defensive side of the ball. At tight end, their usual starter is Brent Salas, but it looks like he's injured at the moment, so it looks like true freshman David Kelly is going to step up and get some reps early on. He's only had 4 catches for 19 yards so far. Just checking out some of his skills. He has decent speed for a tight end, 71 speed and 71 acceleration. He's just a kind of a guy that really needs to work on a little bit of everything. He's pretty raw. He does have some potential for sure, but at least in this game, I'm not too terribly worried about him. I think our linebackers shouldn't have a problem trying to keep him covered. If he does go into the involved in the passing game, but in the running game as well, I think David Kelly won't be much of an issue. As for the rest of the offensive line, they have Damian Reed, who's a senior redshirt, but is only 74 overall. At left guard is Andrew Ross. He's a true freshman from Napoleon, Ohio, but he's only a 69 overall. So so a lot of youth on this line of scrimmage, as Johnny Johnson's also hurt. He's a starting center. So Tyler Linston, he's going to step in. He's only a 66 overall himself. Mike Newberry, a sophomore, 73 overall. And then at right tackle, who I think is their best offensive lineman, is a junior redshirt from Penn Hills, Pennsylvania, who sits at 78 overall. At left end, they have a solid defensive lineman in Jason Harrison, who's a senior redshirt from Wapakoneta, Ohio. You know, he's got some good speed. He has amazing finesse moves, 99 finesse moves. So he has a great move to go to, but, you know, his power move leaves a little bit more to be desired. Kind of a one-trick pony, it seems like. He does have really good pursuit, and he has really good hit power, so he has the capability of forcing some fumbles if need be. 71 speed, though, that's not great for a defensive lineman. As we check out his stats for this season so far, he has not had any tackles, or at least solo tackles, and only has 4 assisted tackles to his name. Still looking for his first sack of the season, at least thus far. Over at right end, they do have a true sophomore in Pete Robinson from Gwinnett, Ohio. He's been playing a little bit better. Probably could put up some better stats compared to what current expectations are. 7 tackles, 5 TFLs, 2 sacks so far. No forced fumbles or anything like that. But looking at Pete Robertson's speed skill set, he is a little bit faster, but his awareness is only 44 overall, so he could be fooled pretty easily when it's all said and done. He has some good power moves as well. Got 82 power moves, got a 76 tackle to go with it as well. Also has good pursuit and hit power as well. We'll see how he handles, some of the read options that we're going to throw his way. And then a defensive tackle, they do have a couple of really nice defensive tackles. Kelvin Palmer, who's a run stopper, and he's from Dublin, Ohio. He's a 79 overall. Kind of a lane clogger. He has a good power move to go to. It is going to try to bull rush us, I'm imagining, in the interior of our line of scrimmage. And then Grant Matthews is also like that from Vermillion, Ohio. He's a senior red shirt. He's considered a pass rusher, but to this point, he only has 1 sack, and that's also his only solo tackle so far this season. In the linebacking core, this group is anchored by Danny Brown, who's a senior redshirt from Wilmington, Ohio. He's an 80 overall guy and actually has some pretty nice speed at the linebacker position. 83 speed, 87 acceleration. Also has good tackling, good all-around player, good recognition. Has a decent catching for a linebacker too at 62. And can also, play some man and zone coverage as well. A good all-around player. His awareness is a little bit down, which does hold him back to a degree, but he's a nice player for the Crusaders, to say the least. At middle linebacker, Joelle Christian. He's a true senior at 74 overall. He's listed as one of the captains, or at least one of the star players for this team so far this season. Not really too impressed by him, to be honest. Only 8 tackles, 4 TFLs, a sack, and does have an interception though. We'll see what he can do moving forward. Right outside linebacker, they have Pierre, who's only a 70 overall, so not that good, but he has played above his overall, to be fair. At the cornerback, they have 3 solid corners, with Paul Ashley being the best out of the group. He's a 5'11 guy from Finneytown, Ohio, who has 91 speed, so he shouldn't have too much of a problem keeping up with our receivers. The question is, what's his awareness like? Only 66 awareness. That's not great for a defensive back, so maybe we can fool him with some play actions. Cedric Joyce is also in there. He's more of a hard-hitting guy, though. Not as fast as Paul Ashley, but, he does a pretty good job of coverage. 89 man, 87 zone coverage. And then Joe James, also a junior redshirt. He's from North Massapequa, New York. He's more of a bounce type, 92 speed. And he also has 82 man, 86 zone. Seems like a good slot guy for us. It'll be a good matchup for Derek Blue for sure. At the free safety position, they do have James Bell, who's a coverage guy from Hinesville, Georgia. Also a 92 speed guy, so, he can cover a lot of ground in the defensive backfield. But then their strong safety is a freshman redshirt. He's named Richard McKnight. He only has 79 speed, though. He does have good agility, but his zone coverage is only a 68, which is not good for a safety, which is typically the last line of defense. So we could probably, get some deep balls, I think, potentially on his side of the field. Finally, the last person I want to talk about is punter Tarek Peoples. He's a true freshman from Urbana, Ohio. And right now, he does have 13 punts for a net average of 33 yards. He does have 7 blocks, or punt blocks, down inside the 20. No blocks yet, but let's see if we can be the first block. So next episode, what we are going to go ahead and do is we are going to play our first conference game here in season number 3. We're going to take on the Capital Crusaders. Should be a good one, man, so I need you guys to do me a favor. Smash that like button for me, and if you have to be brand new and made it all the way to the end of this video, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button to help grow this community that we got going on over here. With that being said, I hope you guys are all out there having a wonderful day. Take care, everybody.